Welcome into the At the Art podcast for episode 111. I'm joined by Ventura County, North LA County scout for us, Steven Hardesty. Hardy, it's been a busy fall with some uncommitted games throughout the state, and thanks for hopping on, and let's break this stuff down.
Awesome. Great to be back. Feels like it's been a while since I've been on one of these, so excited to break down everybody we've seen. We've been all over the state, Sacramento, San Diego, Orange County, Ventura County. We've seen guys all over the place, so it's been a really good fall.
Yeah, so far so good. So the uncommitted games that we'll break down here, we're looking at the upper class uncommitted games at Cypress College a couple weeks ago, the NorCal Uncommitted Games, and then we'll wrap it up with the Ventura County Uncommitted Games that took place this last weekend. I mean, all in all, about 180 players or so. It was good talent up and down the board, man. The uncommitted talent in the state is definitely there. Hopefully these guys will have an opportunity on some level. But, I mean, just as a general piece to you, Hardy, what kind of stood out to you from, maybe one or all three of those events?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was the quality of the bats that were coming to events. We always know that usually in a showcase setting, pitching's going to dominate. They're only facing 5 hitters. They're ripping it off. Like, a lot of guys don't throw their changeup. It's fastball. It's the best breaking ball. But like up in NorCal, I was just stunned by the way the bats hit against some arms. There's upper 80s velocity. Same thing down in Orange County. We had 2 guys running it up there 88 to 90 miles an hour, and guys were getting barrels. So the quality of the bats that are left out there. And I guess, we all know pitching goes first, but there's still some really good bats out there that are going to really help some college programs.
Right. Yeah, you're right. The hitting at all of those events was really good. I mean, we're going to get into a bunch of those guys here in a second, but I mean, there were some quality arms too, as you mentioned, and just again the opportunity to play for these guys. Hopefully they will experience that and get that opportunity to play beyond high school, because a lot of them certainly very deserving of that opportunity. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Some of these events were primarily 25s and 26s. There were a couple of the events where we had a few 27s and 128, I think, participated in 3 events. Yeah. He certainly was pretty deserving.
Baby brother, Chef came out, and he was all excited. He was the top arm velocity on the infield. I was like, the Chef for arm strength lives.
Yeah, Baby Chef was definitely a fun guy to have out there last Sunday. But let's start with the 27 that was also there. Out of Sierra Canyon, Braden Goldstein. This guy is a guy we're familiar with. Obviously, I've seen him a number of different times, but I mean, his game just continues to elevate and impress, Hardy. And on that frame, it's easy to project and dream a little bit on that frame.
You can dream big time. It's so long and lean, and just the room that you can build muscle on him with the tools that he has already is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, he had some good in-game ABs. He ran fairly well at the event as well. The arm plays, I think, right now, but obviously with the strength that he'll undoubtedly add to his frame, I mean, that should improve as well. But what I really liked about him was his pitch selection in the box during the game, right? He wasn't chasing at bad pitches or pitches that were just out of the zone. I mean, he was pretty patient up there, which is intriguing to see for a sophomore.
Very much so. He was very good about, and he had a left on left at bat where he got some breaking balls early in the bat. I think one was called a strike, one was off. He laid off of both. Then he fouled a pitch off, and then he winds up stinging a ball right at the second baseman. Again, it's showcase setting. You might not get the best results, but the quality of that at bat, which translated later in the game when he got one against a right-hander, and he goes backside for a single. Or I know everybody hates backside, so oppo for a single to left field. But it was a really good job of showing for a kid that's just going into a sophomore year that I don't want to call it advanced, but that maturity to what he does in the box.
Yeah, it was definitely a mature approach by Goldstein. But we're going to keep it in the Mission League and head over to St. Francis now. And Jackson Pratt.
The Mission League love today.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, man, you got a Mission League starter in Game One of the World Series, so that's the least we could do. But yeah, Jackson Pratt, obviously a guy that we saw at the CIF championship game. We saw him up at the at a Ventura County event earlier this
Mhm.
summer. Came back, and just the gains he's made in each one of those viewings
Yeah.
is really impressive to me because in that D2 championship game or D3, I'm sorry, I can't remember which one.
D4. They were
Oh,
matched up with Camarillo, and he
Maria,
was
that's
a
right.
guy who he made the really good play and right for them that took a
Yep,
run away.
yep,
I remember him having a very good at bat against the second rounder out of
right,
Camarillo, Austin Bateman.
right. Yeah, I mean, so he showed something there, right? But then at that, the summer ID event, he was good there as well, and just super athletic. And then he comes out at Ventura, or pardon me, the SoCal Orange County Uncommitted
Mhm.
Games, and I mean, dude, it was like a whole different player, right? I mean, he ends up with an in-game double.
Yep.
He had a stolen base. He made a few plays in the outfield. Carries himself just incredibly well, right?
Mhm.
Super loose. This guy is a guy that is going to be a late pickup, I think, for somebody, and it's going to be a steal, Hardy.
Very much agree. I mean, you got a left-handed bat with athleticism. I thought the really interesting thing that he did in Orange County was the not I don't want to call it variance, but the way he showed his whole tool set during batting practice. He came up first round and it was like low line drives, left field. He was staying through the middle. I don't remember. I think there's one. I think he was one of the guys that shot a ball back through the middle that
Yeah,
didn't smoke you. Somebody else who got you later in the day, but he was a guy that went right back up off the pitching machine. And I was standing back doing blast and watching the TrackMan and taking notes. And I remember saying to, I think Brandon Rivera was with us there that day, going like, "Oh, I like this. Like, he understands who he is. He's fast. He's athletic. He can put the ball in play." And then he really opened my eyes when he came back in the second round. And it was like he made a conscious choice of, all right, I've shown my ability to work the opposite field in the middle of the field. I'm going to start turning on some baseballs. And
yeah,
he launched a couple balls to the pull side, didn't get him out, but he showed that he's got that ability to get the barrel head out and elevate a baseball to the pull side. And like you said, I don't think he's even reached his potential yet. I think he's still trending up. And for a guy that's going to play very good high school competition, somebody could land a really good left-handed hitting bat with some athleticism. He was a 6.76 on the hand timer at Ventura, and then he was a 6.83 on the laser timer. So he obviously can run.
yeah, yeah. That was the thing that really stood out to me was just, I mean, his Burt was out, was really good. I mean, his RSI was really good when you're measuring that sort of stuff. And I mean, just from a checklist standpoint, like he checks a lot of boxes, I think, for coaches that,
Yeah.
again, looking for a left-handed hitting, hyper athletic, outfielder that can play both center and either of the corner positions.
Yep. And I think he's going to add some strength too. As we talk about guys that haven't maxed out yet, there's still room for him to add some physicality to his frame.
Yeah, which it looks like he's already starting to do, right? Since the last
Yeah.
time we saw him. Yeah, definitely in the shoulders and stuff. But yeah, let's move up to NorCal and get into Consumnes Rivers is the host for the NorCal Uncommitted Games, and you got up there with our guy Hank Lafort and ran the show there during the West Coast games, and there was a bunch of standouts there, right? And amongst them,
It was. I was very impressed, and I actually made a point at the end of this event to compliment all of the kids that were in attendance. I think sometimes us SoCal guys, we get a little spoiled, and with SoCal, like we kind of put it all up on a pedestal, and we forget that there's this giant state we live in, and there's really good baseball all over it. And going up there, this group of kids that Hank Lafort brought out and got to this event was really fun to watch play. From the arms that were on the mound, the defense, the bats, the energy. Like you had guys just they're not chirping, but they're engaged, and you don't always get that in a showcase setting. But you had guys cheering like if they were in the 5 group hitters and their leadoff guy got on, they're up there like cheering like let's get a run, let's go boys. And it's like they made it into a competitive environment, which made it a lot of fun. first kid we'll talk about up there, and I know we don't give MVP awards at events like these, but if we would have handed out an event and Hank was joking, he's like, I think I had an extra t-shirt. I'm going to give this kid a t-shirt because he just crushed it today, was Miles Cooper, infielder out of Benicia High. I may have butchered the name of that school, but I believe it's Benicia. He was just outstanding all day long. The bat is legit. It's not just a power bat, but he can hit. He was able to get up to about 95 miles an hour on his exit velocity. He was off the sweet spot. Consumus River is a bit of a launching pad to left field, and he made it look small. He was going 360 down the line with ease, not selling out for it, but turning on the baseball. I thought the thing for me that was really impressive is he was 100% on his hard hit rate. So everything he was hitting during BP was absolutely rocketed. And then sometimes you get those kids that they're really good in BP, and then the game comes around and maybe they don't quite have the approach. They don't have the feel for timing, pitch selection. Nope. Cooper showed that he can do that also, as he got 2 hits in the game. I believe he doubled and he tripled, both to right center. And that was the thing that caught me, was during BP, it was a lot of middle to pull side. And then in the game, he showed that he could backspin a ball to the opposite field gap with no slice. It was a line drive that beat the outfielder. He's a decent runner. I wouldn't call him, above average, but he's solid enough. And then he made 2 really good plays at second base on the infield, a backhand, a forehand, showed that he can stay on the dirt. So for a guy that's an uncommitted right-handed bat with some infield ability, some athleticism, and he's got some room to add some strength, he's going to be a good land for somebody up in the NorCal region.
Yeah, that's the best part of these events, I think, is the gameplay portion, because you get to see them obviously in the showcase setting. You get to see them taking their BP, but then you get to see what they do in a game, which is always my favorite part. We work to get guys, 3, 4, sometimes at bats in these games, and it's just you see a lot. I mean, they tell you a lot about who they are. It sounds like Miles Cooper's got a chance to potentially play beyond high school up there out of NorCal Benicia High School. And let's kick back down to Ventura County, a guy that we'd seen before. Came out, this weekend to the Ventura County Uncommitted Games. Left-handed pitcher, first baseman, Justin Geisford. This guy was, again, was really good on the mound, carving dudes with 3-pitch mix. And what really stood out to me is that, he shook to all pitches, right? Because I'm standing behind him there. Guy throws down a fastball, say, on a 2-strike count. He shakes it. Now, all right, slider. Okay. Then, next guy shakes from the slider to the fastball. Then, from the slider to the changeup. It was really impressive, the confidence he has in his stuff to use it as a strikeout pitch.
Absolutely. I saw him last year. I wouldn't say stumbled across him, but I came out to a fall ball game in December. Valencia was playing Camarillo, and I was really there to try to get eyes on a couple of the Camarillo kids that were already committed D1 and were getting some draft buzz. And here's this left-handed arm who's out there for 3 innings, and he's not lighting up radar guns. He's not an upper 80s guy. It's more of his sink fastball, it's feel. And I walked over to their head coach at that time, Brad Mesa, who's now over at Hart High School, took over for Coach Ozella after he retired. And I was like, dude, who is this guy? I really like him. He's like, man, you should see him play first base and hit also. It's like, what? He's like, if there's ever a kid that defines the term baseball player, it's Justin Geisford. And the more I saw him twice in the spring. We saw him at Future Games tryout. I saw him at a tournament over the summer. And he just, every time you see him, it's consistent. It's good. He competes, he performs. But I think the best thing you said about him on the mound is he will throw any pitch in any count. He'll drop a 3-0 breaking ball in there. He'll throw an 0-2 fastball. He'll go 2-1. It's the 2-1 changes are the reason I have trust issues. And he'll give you the 2-1 change. I love Justin. I know it's not a overwhelming tool in his set, but then when you package what he can do with his pitchability, his 4-pitch mix, his knowledge of what he wants to do when he's pitching. Like you said, he's willing to shake off and go, no, I don't want to throw that. I want to throw this right here. The way he plays defense at first, like it's really smooth. It's athletic. The glove is good. He
That
can
was
go
really
all over the plate. Yeah.
That really impressed me because like during the workout, it was smooth. It was athletic. I mean, even in game, he made one play on a stretch where it's kind of like, all right, like that, that plays that can play over there. Then his BP was pretty good too. Like, like you mentioned earlier, having that kind of understanding of the approach during
Yep.
BP. Like his first round was kind of, all right, let's go pull side, pull side, pull side, pull side. And then he started spraying it his second round, which like, okay, he didn't get much to show for, a couple of at-bats in the game, but I mean, it was, I think all in all for a 2026, I mean, he's got a chance to, be a guy that college coaches are going to at least want to, do some digging on when it comes to his
Completely agree.
year, right? I mean, because he could do a lot of different things for you.
Absolutely. And I think the BP point is one I had forgotten about that is, Ventura College, where we were at, it's a homer dome for lefties. Like it plays small to right field. The wind blows out, it's your best chance to hit a homer there. And all of our lefties were kind of, looking to get the barrel out, looking to get it in the air and seeing how many balls they could hit in the 100-foot tree over the scoreboard. How many could they get in the road? And he did that his first round, but then he kind of made that conscious choice of, okay, that's not my game. My game is more to hit the ball through the middle of the field hard. And he went back to that, and it showed up in game. Like he's not going to be a 15, 20 home run college guy, but he's a guy that could hit over 300, get on base at an over a 400 clip, and do a lot of things. And it's like, in this day and age with roster spots and things getting smaller, a guy that can give you quality innings on the mound, quality defense at first base, and quality at bats, absolutely. Like schools need to be paying attention in and just seeing like, hey, does this guy we need in this class?
Right. Yeah, he's an interesting name to follow for sure for the next 12 to 18 months. But a guy, we'll pivot back down to the Orange County event, a guy that we had seen a few times during our tournament last spring. Then I obviously saw them a couple times outside of that out of El Dorado. Jake Vanderzee, infield type, probably profiles more as a second baseman. What really impressed me was the bat. And speaking to Nate Allum, he played a lot of third base as well for El Dorado, moving over from second base. And, it's the arm plays right from either side, obviously, but the BP was really interesting. He was kind of sprayed balls during both rounds to the gaps and, kind of a thicker build, if you will. But this is a guy, you're a starter at El Dorado. I mean, that's no slouch program, right? And
not at all.
Not sure if you got a chance to see him last spring, but, obviously what he did at the Orange County event was pretty impressive in and of itself.
No, I got to see them one time in our tournament, and I don't remember what he did, but it was very much quickly. I was hitting the fungos during that Orange County event, and it gave me a kind of a chance to watch what the kids were doing and how they were reacting to the ball coming off my bat. And for a guy that's not a natural shortstop, like he is a second baseman, he is a third baseman. That's where he fits best. His feet moved well when you put him at shortstop. His hands were solid. You could see that the throw was a little bit of a stretch for him, but he can easily handle second base. He could play third. The BP was very quality, but the game was what really stood out for me is he picked up a hit, and it wasn't that he stung a ball. It wasn't that he was right on something. It was that he kind of got fooled by a pitch, but he showed the ability to keep his hands back and stay on plane with something where he was out in front and be able to lift it over the second baseman into right field. And it's like, good hitters hit ugly sometimes. Like It's not always going to be a smoked line drive somewhere. How do you hit when you're off time? How do you hit when you're fooled? And that ability to get a pitch where he was fooled and get it into the outfield. And it's, it wasn't a lucky hit. It was what I would call a good hitter getting a hit.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The adjustment in the mid-swing adjustment was really impressive. It says a lot about his ability to get the barrel of the ball for sure. It's just another player, that again is pretty intriguing. Is a 2025. You hate to kind of pinpoint where guys go and whatnot and what their ceilings are, but this is a guy who I think, goes to Fullerton College or Cypress College or,
Yep.
some JUCO down here. He's going to get a bunch of reps. He's going to get a whole lot stronger, and then kind of take it from there. Because, I mean, this is a guy, again, after seeing him plenty, I think last year, and through this year's events, it's a guy who's going to have a chance next year, I think, to play.
Very much agree. I think he kind of pops to a name of a guy down in your area that's at Cypress Community College, kind of the same profile, offensive-minded, right-handed hitting, infield Nate Reblecki.
Yeah,
I can't remember what out of high school. Yeah, very, very similar profile. Like, he can hit. He can play on the infield dirt. He's the guy that goes to a junior college maybe and winds up doing really well, putting up some numbers. And you look up 2 years down the road and maybe he's playing Division I, maybe he's playing Division II, but he's probably playing at a 4-year somewhere after that path.
Right. Yeah. Rebecki may have had a little more thump in the bat, I think, than Anderson, but nonetheless, that's a good comp. I like that. Guy that he came up to the Ventura County Future Games tryout, but unfortunately was hurt. Couldn't participate there, made it up to the Uncommitted Games. Drew Hamburger out of NorCal. I mean, looks the part, right? I mean, he's
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looks what they're supposed to look like at that age. And
he walks in looking like a college baseball player already, like not 100%, but the frame at 6'2", 185, it's kind of like, hey, who's this guy? Like, hey, let's keep an extra eye on him. And, I'm a little guy, so I never got that. They always looked at me and I had to catch your eye afterwards. But it was like, he definitely, and I kind of joked with him when he walked in. I'm like, okay, so I got to drive all the way up to Sacramento to see you. You couldn't come down to me and perform. He's like, Coach, I got hit the day before. Like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I know. I was like, well, you better do something special today. And he did do something special up there. He was very good. I think the thing that stood out to me the most is, usually when you see a 6'2", 185-pound high school kid who says he's a shortstop, what's the first thing in your head? You kind of go, probably a third baseman, but let's see what it looks like. And watching him, and I was doing the video camera up there, standing behind the shortstops and being able to watch everything from behind. And it was like, oh, you know what? Like, he might have a chance to stay there. Like, his hands are good. His feet are good. He might be a little bit heavy on his actions right now, but he's also probably 16 years old. Like, he's going to get more explosive. He's going to get more athletic. He's going to get more comfortable with how he moves around. And the arm plays. Like, the ball comes out of the hand. It's not like lightning arm strength, but it comes out of the hand with carry. He's accurate to the base. He can throw from multiple slots. And it was like, all right, at the very least, yeah, you're standing on the left side. You're probably not sliding over to second base unless absolutely necessary. And then his batting practice was really good. I think he got a little jumpy because of the way the ball carried to left field there. His first round was a little bit better than his second one. His second one, I think he was kind of like, ooh, hey, I can run a few out of here and, rack up the home runs. And he kind of got out and around a couple balls that he pulled foul, but he showed the ability that he can be early and he can still get the ball in the air. It's not a rollover. It's not a chop. It's in the air with carry to the pull side, picked up a hit in the game. Like, it was a very, very good performance. And it backed up, again, why was he invited to the Future Games tryout? Because he's got a lot of ability, and now getting to see it, it's like, okay, this confirms why you were there. Just bad luck that you weren't able to perform at it because of an injury.
Right. Yeah. And, obviously he has a twin brother who was there at the tryout as well that did perform, but I mean, that was one of kind of, I think, for both of us, right, it was like kind of a disappointment that we didn't get to see him at the Future Games tryout, because I think we both believed, like, hey, this guy could potentially, make that roster.
I think he would have made a very good case for that team.
Yeah.
Just with the performance he put on up there, I think he would have made it very difficult on us to not take him to Georgia.
Yeah. And that's what we want out of those tryouts, right? I mean,
that's 100% is like, we want to sit there as a staff and go, we not argue, but we want to bicker a little bit. Like, no, I really want this guy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of dull when it's like, okay, we all agree, but yeah, I mean, that's what we want is guys to make it hard for us to decide who to put on that roster. For what I believe is the greatest event in the country. But
absolutely,
let's pivot back down to Ventura County, and a guy that you're obviously very familiar with, and a guy I've seen a few times now. Who continues to impress me, Elijah Garcia, the catcher out of Buena. And I mean, Hardy, like behind the dish, dude, this is very real. I mean, it's very
Oh, it's legit.
catch and throw, the arm strength. I mean, the footwork, the head, like the head
Yeah.
mental part of catching. It's very real. And then you see him at the plate, and you're just like it's so loose and it's so just kind of nonchalant. Like it makes
Mhm.
you, if you didn't know him or if you hadn't seen him, you might wonder like, is this dude into it? But I mean,
Reminds me
it's
a little
just
of Garrett Anderson. Like you used to get the Garrett Anderson vibe of like, hey, Garrett's lazy. It's like, no, he's not lazy.
right.
He's in control and he understands how to move his body.
Yeah, that's a really good comment. I like that because I mean, just kind of watching him at BP, at this
Yeah.
event, it was like, dude, okay, but I mean, you go back and you watch the open side video of it, and it's like, dude, he's on time on everything, and it's like,
Yeah.
the barrel is there. He's using both gaps. He's using the pull side a little bit. He's spraying it the other way when he
Yeah.
needs to, and it's like, holy crap, man! Like this is it's just like you said, he's just total control of his body, right?
Yeah, it's very much like he popped up a couple years ago up here. Boyne is about 5 minutes away from where I live. I actually went to the rival high school, but one of my former players from junior college is now the head coach there. He actually played for one of my other former players, and then another one of my former players that have all been head coaches in his time there. And when he popped up and he committed to UCSB very early on in the process, and he's kind of gotten stuck with this whole number crunch and everything that's going on. And a little bit was, he got into a funk last year. Their team was struggling, and you could see he put a lot of pressure on himself at the plate to try to do more and more and more. And the swing got too big, and he lost his ability to find the barrel. And it was kind of like he had to reset in the summer and kind of work on some things. And you're starting to see that work ethic that he has and that drive to be good show up again. And it's kind of an unfortunate thing is I think he is the primary kid who gets affected by all of these rule changes. Is he's a legit catch and throw guy,
Right.
but you have a little bit of a struggle and people have to start cutting down numbers to be in accordance with a rule. And that's what's going to happen. It's not anybody's fault on his side or the other side. It's just a matter of the way things are, happening right now. But I think the best thing for Elijah is he didn't quit. A lot of kids might have quit, like, oh man, like I got decommitted and what am I going to do? It was like it almost spurred him to go, I'm going to work harder and I'm going to really figure all this out. And we were talking, I went out and did a workout with him in August and spent some time with him, talking to him, and it was like he understands who he is. We were talking about his throwing. And I was like, hey, man, do you think you're a transfer and accuracy guy, or do you think you're a pure arm strength guy? He's like, well, I know I have a good arm, but he goes, I think my transfer and my accuracy are better than my arm strength. And I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like that ball is in and out of your glove so quick, and then you live on the first base side of the bag. Like I don't think I've ever seen the kid throw a ball to the shortstop side of the base. If he misses, he misses to the first base side. Really good receiver. And the bat is the thing for me. He continues to make progress. And like you said, watching it from the open side, when I was behind home plate at the event, it looked really like, is this really upper body dominant? Like, it doesn't look like he uses his legs a lot. Then you watch it from the open side, and I mean, he's getting up to, was he 18.3 Gs of rotational acceleration? So he's getting into his hips and he's turning.
Right, which when you watch it again, you're just like, how? Like, how is it possible?
Right.
I mean, I was driving home from that event, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I was thinking about the guys, and I was thinking about him, and I'm like, that's the guy. Like, I wanted to see his numbers, right? Because I wanted to see what's actually going on with that swing. Because again, like you come back, you watch it on video, you watch it, you look at the numbers, you're just like, how is he doing all of this? And you kind of go back to that, like, okay, this is just superb body control. It's an understanding of who he is and staying within himself. And I mean, I think everything you said, right? The catch and throw is
it's
like
legit.
it's elite. It's elite. It's D1, Power 5 level, Power 4, whatever it is now. Elite, right? Like
it's simply
no
put, like,
and the
it's
bat
the best in the 25 class in my area. And I think the only kid I've seen that rivals him in the 805 Ventura County area is Carson Sheffer, who's going to Oklahoma State. So it's like he's right on par with Carson.
Right. And if not, tick quicker, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I mean, if not a tick quicker.
Yeah, I think his release is quicker. Carson just might have him beat on arm strength.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that, again, obviously former UCSB commit, caught up in those numbers, crunch and whatnot, as you explained. But it's a guy who, I mean, even if he does go the JUCO right after 1 year of JUCO, he's going to be going wherever he wants. You would think, right? I mean,
I would think so, especially if he hits. I mean, it might not even be the JUCO. If he hits this year as a senior, you could see somebody jump on him late in this whole process. But I think the biggest thing for me is just the way he has carried himself through this whole thing. Is there's multitudes of ways you could handle it, and Elijah's handled it in such a mature way that I've been very impressed with him.
Yeah, that might tell a coach more than you need to know, right, about what he can do on a baseball field. But speaking of what you can do on a baseball field, this next guy that we saw at the Orange County Uncommitted Games came in, faced 5 hitters. I believe he struck out 4 and gave up did he strike out all 5? No, I think
he struck out all 4.
He struck out 4, right.
Struck 4, and I think the other one was a soft ground ball, if I remember
second base, right? Yeah, I was trying to remember where it was, the soft ground or the second base. Yeah, Osvaldo.
And I think it was kind of like a Lucas Waite at the SoCal Top Prospect, where he hadn't thrown a pitch yet, and he wanted to get it on track, man. I was like, I'm going to throw this and just see what happens.
Right. Osvaldo Nunez out of Notre Dame High School up in Sherman Oaks, 2026, 6'3", 185, 190 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I'm going to be full disclosure here, Hardy. I didn't know much about this guy coming into this event. He's one of those guys that, kind of, you're in those programs and you're either the guy or you're not, right? And I think and you wait your turn, and this guy I think is going to be the guy. It's sooner rather than later for Notre Dame because, as we mentioned, struck out 4 guys and gave up a weak grounder. I mean, it was 89, 91-ish. A slider, a changeup, and a curveball. And a curveball, threw all 4 for strikes. This is a guy, again, that just was arguably the best arm we saw there.
Agreed.
He certainly was the most electric arm we saw.
If you're asking me, I got to go to all 3 events. I saw all the arms that threw. This was the best arm. Maybe not the best pitcher, but the best arm that we had at any of these events. The ease with which he got to that 89, 90 miles an hour. The changeup was really impressive. I mean, he's getting 20 inches of arm side fade on that pitch, and he's throwing it at 80 to 82. Like when he learns how to really spin that slider, because I think right now the slider's a little bit of a softer pitch. I mean, you're talking, I can run a 4-seam at the top of the zone. I can fade it in on your hands with a change and roll you over, or I can just spin it off your barrel and get you to swing and miss also. I mean,
it's just for one curveball in the game though, too, which I mean, kind of had that 12-6.
I think that was the ground ball pitch. I think that's what he gave up the ground ball.
Right. There was kind of that 12-6 shape to it, which when you go back and you watch it on video and you're just kind of oh, okay, like that. I mean, you add that as a 4th pitch to the arsenal, that's pretty good. But I wanted to touch on that changeup because we have it in his video and his profile. Like he does run that in on the hands on the righty, and saws him off. Dude, you just kind of look at the reaction on the righty's hitter face. You're just kind of like, dude, like, what are you doing to me?
What am I supposed to do with that? It's almost like a 2-steamer.
Yeah, it was like right in on the hands, man. And again, at 6'3", 185, Nunez is a dude that, I think he's going to have a chance there at, obviously pitching some really big games and be seen by some big important people when it comes to, the spring evaluation date there at Notre Dame. There's a chance for him to be, again, the guy there at Notre Dame.
Well, I think, and that's what we do these events for. That's why they're here, is we both said it. Like, we didn't know much about Osvaldo Nunez. Like, we knew he was from a good program. And, hey, he's coming from a Notre Dame. He's probably going to be pretty decent. But this is our chance to get eyes on a kid. And now you walk out going like, okay, that's must see in the spring. Like, I need to get back out and see that in the spring or in the winter time and just see how it continues to develop.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I think we put out a tweet about him and I certainly had a few texts
I
saying,
got a
"Well,
couple too on that one.
yeah,
Like, hey, who the heck
like,
is this kid? I'm like, well, don't worry, I
who
said the
is
same
this
thing.
guy?" Right. Who is this guy? Exactly. But I love that. That warms my heart. But a guy that we already know who he is. Obviously you'd seen him a bunch, and I got to see him again up at the Ventura County Uncommitted Games. Devin Wilkes, big left-handed bat. The thing that really kind of opened my eyes was when you told me that, because he was playing with an injured hammy.
Yeah.
We told him not to run, and he still ran. But on his
It's like,
double
well,
to the cap in game, like, dude, don't run! I'm yelling at him, don't run,
I
don't
told him,
run.
like, if you pull that thing worse and then I get yelled at by your coach for you getting hurt there, I'm gonna be pissed. And he's like, oh, I'm
Right,
fine, coach, don't worry about it.
right. But again, the thing that really impressed me was that you said that he plays basketball, and
Mhm.
and he brings that. You could see that when he's running the bases, like there's
Yeah,
athleticism to. I mean, it's a large frame, right? But
yeah,
oh my gosh, Hardy! I mean, some of the balls he was hitting out there at Ventura College. The old cliche is that they still haven't landed, but I know
he
they
made a big
landed, but
park
they
look
landed
small.
far, far away from home plate. Big power left-handed bat here in Devin Wilkes.
Big time. Like, I saw Devin for the first time when he was a sophomore, on a very scrappy but just struggling Pacifica team. He was a sophomore hitting in, I believe, the 3 or the 4 spot for them, and he was facing a Division I commit arm from Ventura High School. And at Ventura High, it's not a big field, but you've got the fence at about probably 350 to the gap. Then you have a hill, and then you have an upper parking lot that's probably 20 feet higher than the fence, and the wind blows across. So it's not a great hitter's field. And he absolutely jettisoned a ball as a sophomore into the upper parking lot. And I remember being mad at myself because I didn't have my phone out to shoot video and was like, how did I miss that? And then I got to see him last year. I think I've seen Devin 6 or 7 games now. And over that course, he's like 10 for 14 with 5 walks, 3 homers, 5 doubles. And I got a text from a college coach, and he's like, is this legit? And I was like, oh, it's absolutely legit. I've seen the kid hit velocity. I've seen him hit soft. I've seen him hit spin. I've seen him hit change. I've seen him hit lefty. I've seen him hit a submariner. Like, I've had a chance to see this kid do everything. And he's like, yeah, I love the swing. I'm like, if you asked me who the best left-handed bat in Ventura County is, it wouldn't take me longer than 5 seconds to go Devin Wilkes. He can just flat out hit. And he has gotten so much more athletic. He's gotten so much better with how he moves at first base. Like, we didn't get to see the full representation of it because he was running on about a hamstring and a half. And you couldn't really see, but like his range side to side, the softness of his glove, the way he can work his feet at the base. Like, I told him this last spring, like, Devin, you have so impressed me with how much better you have gotten, not just as a hitter, because you were already a really good hitter, but with the work you put in on everything else, from your body to your athleticism, because he was bigger actually as a freshman. I think he was probably 15 pounds heavier, and he's actually leaned down and gotten better shape. Like, it's legit. And, I can't think of the last time in my life that I saw 107-mile-an-hour exit velocity that wasn't a college or a pro. And it's like I had to triple take it. And then I full disclosure, I played at Ventura College. I coached at Ventura College for almost a decade. I've been around that field, and I have only seen 3 people ever hit a ball over the tree. And one of them played professionally, and the other one played Division I baseball. And he cleared that tree like it was no big deal.
Dude, just moonshots, like just
Big.
moonshots, and I mean that's what they were. I mean, it was like one of those things where you kind of stop and just watch. I mean, because you don't see that every day, that's for sure. But then in the game though, like, despite playing with a bad hammy, I mean, he catches a breaking ball in the inner half, right, and just
Almost
smokes
killed the
it.
second baseman.
Yeah, smokes it. Yeah, it did almost kill the second baseman. But smokes it, through the right side, and here we go. I mean, he kind of takes off a little gingerly, and I think one of the competitor in him certainly took over.
Smelled the double. Yeah.
Right. He was just like, oh, I can get the 2 here. And it's like, dude, like, slow down. Like, don't hurt yourself, man. But yeah, I mean, quality hitter for sure. Devin Wilkes. I mean, it was really impressive. And another guy that made an impression on us was down back at the Orange County Uncommitted Games. Just came down from NorCal to be a part of this. Tanner Wall. He showed really well defensively, I thought, from the last time we saw him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really improved, which is always exciting because the bat, I think, will play. It's been pretty consistent, and every time we've seen him, or at least that I've seen him, and it continues to add strength to the frame. But just quickly, what was your take on Wall there from Orange County? Because again, I'm a fan after every time I've seen him.
I am too. Like I met I met Tanner in Arizona last year at about this time at a tournament out there, and the tools were there. The polish and the feel of how to get to those tools wasn't there, but the swing was pretty. There was bat speed. The hands worked. Like he had all of it, and it just wasn't there yet. And now you see him a year later, and it's like you 100% said it. Like his defense on the infield is way better. He could stick up the middle. I don't know if he's a shortstop, but he can play second base. Yeah, worst case scenario, you put him at third. But I really think he could be a solid defensive second baseman. And the bat, he has now figured out how to take that pretty swing and get to the baseball with authority. I mean, he was hammering balls. He doubled early in the day. I know he hit another ball hard. And I mean, I think it was confirmed when this week he commits to Pepperdine. It's again a great confirmation of his ability as he goes from an uncommitted event, and about a week and a half later, he's committed to play Division I baseball.
Yeah, he's got a chance, man. I really, really liked him. He was pretty impressive. I mean, the fact that he made the trip down was in and of itself impressive. Obviously, I think there might have been a little visit to his future home there.
I think so too. I think that might have been involved
in that planning. But hey, we'll take it anytime NorCal guys make the trip down to SoCal. Obviously, and then Pepperdine, taking advantage of that. So I just think Tanner Wall is going to be one of those guys that, if you know anything about Pepperdine's new coach, he's kind of one of his types of players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the huge name, not the huge name, but a guy that can do a lot of different things defensively. He can do a lot of things offensively as well, right? From a skills game and being able to hit the ball the other way, put the ball in play, that sort of thing. So good pickup there. But let's move it back up to NorCal. Excuse me. Back up to NorCal for Bo Blake. Was one of the guys that stood out to you there at the NorCal Uncommitted Games, and tell us a little bit about Bo Blake.
Man, we talk about guys that are putting on offensive displays, and there's been a few of them over the course of, if Devin Wilkes is the front runner for best one that we saw in a batting practice, Bo Blake is not far behind him. It was lightning hand speed, lightning bat speed. I think he was up to 80 miles an hour on his bat speed. He averaged 75.2. He was 28 miles an hour hand speed. And it was just amazing of how easy he got to that. It wasn't like leg kick, muscle up. It was a nice, smooth, controlled load. And then just this explosive swing. And he was, again, Consumas River, ball jumps to left field, and he took full advantage of that. He was crushing balls to left field that even if it wasn't a small park, they were going to get out. They were line drives. He was 91% on his hard hit rate. He was 91% on his sweet spot. He went up to 100.9 miles an hour on his exit velocity. He ran a 6.9 60. He got burst. He gets off the line in about 1.6 seconds in that first 10 yards. So he gets up to speed very quickly. The arm may be the one thing he lacks right now. It's probably very much of a below average tool. But again, he's a senior in high school. There's plenty of time for him to add arm strength. But with the bat and what he can do at the plate, you put that guy at second base if you're an offensive-minded second baseman team, or you let him go run around and be an athlete in left field, and the arm plays just fine in left field, and you're going to get a lot out of that bat because it's not just impact power, he's got the ability to go to the other side. Like in the game, the hardest hit ball he had in the game was a line drive to right center field. And then he turned on a ball to left field. So he showed that ability, kind of like Miles Cooper, of, yeah, I can launch balls during BP, but I can also go oppo in the game.
Yeah, another intriguing prospect there out of NorCal. Gosh dang it. I mean, we had the West Coast games the same weekend. I would love to get up there.
I lucked out on that one. I got the NorCal trip, and it turned out to be a really, really good one.
Yeah, you did. And it did, which is awesome. But back in Ventura County, we saw, a two-way guy who, again, was really impressive on both sides of the ball, right? I tend to maybe lean a little bit more towards him on the mound just because of what he was able to show there in more viewings, right, versus 3 at-bats in game BP. But just based on that one viewing, Mason Berlinger was really impressive, Hardy. I mean, I love the outfield arm. The arm strength in the outfield really played, moved well, obviously with good footwork. His BP was, again, his first round was a little up and down, but his second round was much more consistent, gave him a few extra swings in the second round because it looked like he found it there kind of mid-round. But I mean, this is a guy who, again, you've seen a couple times, and I think we're on the same page here. I mean, we both really like this guy.
Yeah, I've been pushing Mason. I kind of reached out to him just about every event that we've run up here, and he's had some conflicts. It was the first chance we had to get him there. He was kind of, I mean, put it bluntly, he's flying under the radar because he didn't get a lot of time as a junior because Westlake was stacked with senior talent at basically every one of his primary positions. There weren't a lot of innings for him on the mound. They had a ton of, you got Dylan Volantis, who was a 20th rounder out of high school going to Texas, and he's basically sucking up 5, 6, 7 innings in the first game of every week. They had a couple other good arms, Caden Yeomans, who's at, I believe, Army. They had another guy, very good arm also. They have the Johnson brothers. They got Dylan Merced. They have all these guys. There just wasn't room for him. And it's not saying that he's not a good player. It's just, he couldn't play shortstop left-handed. He couldn't play third base left-handed. So where was the spot for him? So he did get a little here and there, but I know Wally Barnett, the head coach there, has said, like, I ran into him at an event in the summer and we were talking about some of his guys. And that was the first name out of his mouth was like, hey, Berlinger is going to have to be very good for us. He's going to be a key piece for whatever we do this year. He's going to get on the mound. He's going to have to be successful, and he's got a chance to be very successful on the mound. It's a very good arm. I think there's some rawness to it just because he's a two-way and he hasn't gotten to throw a ton, but there's plenty of upside there. And I think when he get up to 83
or 4 on the mound,
84 mound, and it runs a little bit. He can go east to west. He's got a nice slider, kind of more of a sweeping type slider. But I mean, he can work the double planes and attack you downhill. And then you 100% right. I didn't ask him, but I meant to ask him during BP, hey, did that fence kind of get in your head and you try to jack a few balls and get away from it? Because you could see kind of like guys. Second round, he made an adjustment. He stopped trying to lift everything, and he just started trying to hit the ball hard, which then carried into the game of I was trying to run over and get film of him hitting, and I thought I'd have a pitch or two because it was his first at bat. He might take one, he might take two. No, he jumped on the first pitch that he got and hammered it to right center to Triples Alley at DC and cruised into third base. I looked at him like, man, you got to give me one pitch to get set up over there. He's like,
exactly. Yeah, he went first pitch up, and then I don't have his 60 time in front of me. I don't know what he did there, but I mean that first to third on that triple. I mean he was moving, and it's a long stride, right? I mean it's a bigger body, long stride. I mean he was moving pretty efficiently there. I'm yelling up, 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 but he still went down. It's like all right. I mean, hey, do you, big guy? But yeah, he did crush that piece into the gap there for that triple. And a two-way guy. I mean, obviously Westlake is a good team and a good league, so he's gonna, he'll have some opportunities, I think, to put up some good numbers as a two-way player there for them. Speaking of two-way players, a guy that we've been hearing a lot about of late from his coach and from others in the space, and we go out to Los Osos High School with Wyatt Moeller, who I mean, he showed at our event, the two-way ability is pretty legit for what it is right now. And there's some projection, I think, with the bat as the frame ad size. And, but this is a guy that can very likely play up the middle defensively, and then he gets on the mound and it's pretty intriguing there. Wyatt Muller out of Los Osos. I know that you were a fan going into it, and I'm sure he did nothing but cement that for you.
Big time. His coach I think it's Coach Kelly over there at Los Osos does a fantastic job of getting his players' names out and trying to get them in front of guys like us so that we can help give them some exposure. And, that was like, hey, let's get him out to this event. We want to see him. We definitely want to get eyes on him. So he, helped us get him there. And Wyatt confirmed everything that his coach has been saying about him, that, hey, this is one of our best players. And, they got a Fullerton commit in their program. They got a Northridge commit in their program. And he has told me from day one, like, this kid's as good, if not better than either of those kids. And he showed it. And then come to find out, he had about 102-degree temperature and was running a flu that whole day. And it's like, okay, there's another guy that's performing and he's competing and he's not even at 100%. His first round of BP, you could tell he was getting comfortable with the machine, kind of figuring it out. And then the second round, he got comfortable and he uncorked on a couple of 97-mile-an-hour line drives to left center field. And I think the thing, like, I really liked about it is you can tell the kid has power, but he's not trying to get uphill. He's not trying to hit every baseball in the air. He's trying to hit through it. And they were just backspin line drives. I think he ran one out to left center field on his last swing. I think he got the cage there at Cypress or just to the right of it. And I kind of joke, he's like, all right, you got one. And he just kind of had a smile on his face. Like, yeah, I did.
Yeah. But also in game, right? His ABs in game were really quality at bats. I don't have his sheet in front of me, but
he got to hit his last at bat. Cause I remember we were short on at bats and I was looking around. I was like, anybody want to hit? And he kind of looked at me and he kind of like, can I? And I was like, why, get up there. You got the last at bat. Let's go. And he pulled one through the left, the left side of the infield, one hopper to the outfield, drove a run in, and he walks by me. He's like, hey, thanks for that last at bat. I was like, hey man, you were doing well up there. You were bound to get one that was going to fall and get through the infield.
Yeah. His stuff on the mound kind of deserted him. It came and went a little bit early, at least before he settled in. But I mean, it's for a high school. I mean, I think he's going to be fine there. Obviously, the future, I think, and you think is, on the dirt and hitting. But he was pretty intriguing on the mound as well.
Yeah, I like the slider. I think you're right. I think the fastball got away from him and he didn't feel like he could throw it for strikes. So he kind of just, after the second hitter, backed off the fastball and went slider, because it seemed like that was the pitch he felt the most comfortable with that day, which I'm sure being sick doesn't help either. But hey, man, if you can get a third baseman that can play good defense, hit maybe in that middle to backside of your lineup and give you impact, and he can step on the mound and maybe give you an inning of relief here and there with a really good slider. That's a nice piece to have coming into your program, because any type of versatility can only help.
Yeah, versatility is valuable these days, no doubt.
Yes, sir.
A guy with versatility that we saw. Speaking of versatility, this guy looks the part. Big dude, 6'3" third baseman, has the California cool vibe going. Mason Trigo, this guy. We spoke about it earlier about kind of, it looks like he's not into it, but dude, this dude's totally into it. And again, 6'3", a little on the skinnier side, right? $175 in that neighborhood. But
he might be pushing it at 175. He might be closer to 160.
Yeah, you're probably right. But man, boy, do the hands work, the feet work, the arm works over at third base. He made an incredible play in the game where it was a short hop that he had to charge, set himself up, made the throw, got the guy by a step. Just a really impressive day defensively and offensively as well during BP, because he didn't get much to hit in the game. But during BP really showed some potential in Mason Trigo.
Yeah, I really like Mason. Came across him in the springtime. He jumped out quickly, and it was really what you said. Like the defense was the first thing that caught my eye. I'm watching him take infield, outfield, and just the ease with which he moves around. His hands are good. If you look at the throwing velocity from the day, you kind of might go like third baseman arm. And it's like you got to realize, like, I don't think he rips it off. That California cool comes off as like he knows he has it in the tank, but he'd rather just put it in the chest and get you out instead of trying to throw 85 miles an hour across the infield. He can play one-handed. He is Central Coast California. Like I almost wonder, like, did he leave the field and go grab his surfboard and go get a couple hours in the ocean afterwards?
100%, right? Like, I think I might have made a comment to you about him, saying something very similar, right? But
yeah,
it is just California cool, just laid back. I mean, what a fun guy though, and talented player as well.
No, he walked out because it was for him. It was like that was the first event he's ever been to. He's never done a showcase before. He's never done any type of thing like that. And he walked out after a second round. He was like, hey, how did it look on TrackMan? And I'm like, man, you were living like 88, 89, 90, 91. And I'm like, the thing is, like, you're not swinging hard. You're just trying to get the barrel to the baseball. You're staying right through the middle of the field. Like, we talk about guys being aware and understanding who they are. It's easy in a setting like that to say, like, hey, I'm going to try to hit home runs and see, how far can I hit the ball? How hard can I hit the ball versus staying to what you are, which is a middle of the field line drive hitter with some sneaky, backspin to the ball. And he did that very well. I think first at bat, he lined out to right field. He walked. I think he had a K in there, but he worked a good at bat in the process of striking out. I was talking to his. It was, I was say I thought it was something like that. He fouled a few off. I was talking to his coach, and he just because he was asking me for some feedback on some of the guys that were there, and I'm like, listen, I've already told you about Mason, but I came away more impressed because that was really the first chance I had to interact with him in person versus just watching him play and some messages going back and forth, trying to get him to some events and, him asking some advice. And it was like, I love the calmness to his demeanor. Like, he's that guy that's going to walk up there in the 7th inning of a tie ball game and 2 outs and second and third, and it's not going to phase him. The heart rate's going to stay slow. He's going to have that confidence of like, all right, man, let's do this. Bring it on. Like, I'm either going to beat you, you're going to beat me, but I'm not scared of you.
Right. Like, I'm glad you said that word, because I was just going to say he's not. You get the feeling that he's not scared to fail, right? Like, nope. Okay, cool. If I don't get the hit, then I'll get him next time, right? But I'm going to do my absolute freaking best, in the meantime to try to get that hit. Yep. But you're a really impressive guy. I just, as a whole, right? Really cool vibe to him. Really a nice kid and a good player. I think Mason Trigo is a name that coaches will definitely want to circle back on when it comes to the springtime. And Hardy, I think those are the guys you wanted to really break down. And go ahead.
I think just the biggest thing on Trigo is, and I've told him this, like, man, you gotta get bigger. If you can get to that 180, like a legit 180, you're gonna be amazed.
Yeah, we need to get that body frame up to where it's pretty standard there for that position, right? I mean, if he gets to that 185 mark or even higher, things are going to be looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, he's got the great advantage of like, hey, go eat anything you want because you need to put some mass on.
Right, and being 6'3", right?
Yeah,
people are just blessed. Well, Hardy, man, I appreciate you making time, dude, and doing this. Giving this a go here, and I appreciate you. And
I love doing these. I'm excited. I know we got high school fall ball, winter ball coming up, and then we're going to be jumping back into preseason all states when the new year comes. Some IDs, and then next thing you know, we'll look up and it'll be CIF, Southern Section, Northern Section, Central Section.
Well, yeah, everybody's going to be playing. Then the future games tryout. Then the future games
tryouts. We'll be going flying out to Georgia, sweating it out next summer again, and loving it.
Then we're back here doing the same podcast about these events next year, right? I mean,
yes, sir. And I'll have more gray in my beard. This will all be gray by that point.
Yeah. Welcome to my world. All right, Hardy, man. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thank you.